Welcome back to Southern Belle Budgeting, or welcome if you're new. I'm Catherine, a cash budgeter. On this channel, you will find cash stuffings, savings challenges, and wallet resets. And now, this is my very first Budget with Me. If any of this sounds like content you'd be interested in, please like and subscribe to follow along on our journey to financial freedom. So I've had a few people ask for me to walk them through how do I even plan how much money goes in each envelope every time we do a cash stuffing. So I decided, starting off fresh with the new year, that we are gonna try to do our best to keep up and do budget with me's as we go. What that means is this first time I'm gonna actually walk through a basic rundown of how we take what our income is, what pay period bills we have, and then figure out what exactly is the total we can divide out amongst the envelopes. So grab a tea, a cup of coffee, and let's get started. I'm gonna zoom you guys in so that you can see a little bit better. Now, the first thing to do whenever you're trying to set up a budget is you have to figure out what your income is. Because if you don't even know that, then you kind of don't know where to go from there. So every single pay period, my husband and I sit down and we fill this out. And then it helps us really keep track. And then as the pay period goes on, I kind of can eyeball and see as the bills come out of our account. Now, all of our bills, our buffer, those type of things, that we don't actually cash pull that. We just plan it out around it. So what I would do is, for instance, for this pay period, my husband is gonna get paid on the 4th, and then I'm gonna get paid on the 5th. I know a lot of people do monthly budgeting, which we do a basic month budget, but since we're paid bi-weekly, we really have to focus on it pay period by pay period. So this income and what is our previous balance in our bank account is gonna be our first total. That's number one. So then what we would do is we're gonna come down here, and just for privacy purposes, I'm not gonna actually write out our totals here. I'll get to that on the next page. So we have 5 bills to come out this pay period. So I would write their exact numbers over here. If it's something that's variable and you're not sure what the balance is gonna be yet, try, if you can, to see, for instance, your energy bill. What was your electric for the last 12 months? Divide that by 12, and that gives you an average. That way, if you overestimate, you can save that in your account to help for whenever you underestimate, and so on. Because this pay period is a pay period where we don't have that many bills coming out, we try to be very smart in planning ahead. So that means our next paycheck is gonna have quite a lot of bills on it, and that's just how they fall throughout the month. So with this paycheck, we're also gonna plan to get ahead on some bills. And that just means we're gonna set aside a certain amount of money to be included in this extra balance for next time. What we also will do is we plan an account buffer. And this will help a lot for any unexpected expenses that come up, if there's any overages on these bills that we didn't plan for. And then also, just as we're cash budgeting, obviously the money in my envelopes is not in our bank account. So this gives us a little wiggle room so that every few days or once a week, I sit down and do an unstuffing of things we used our debit card for. I pull the cash out of the envelopes, and then I return that to the bank to replenish this buffer. So all of the bills and then our bills ahead amount plus our account buffer is gonna give us number 2. So then what we'll do is we'll have to subtract. So the remaining amount is gonna be number 1 minus number 2, which is gonna give us number 3, and that is how much we will be stuffing in our envelopes. So now what we're gonna do is our sinking funds breakdown. What this is, we're gonna list all the categories we plan to stuff this paycheck, and then we're going to go through our envelopes and write down what our starting total is. We'll take our total, which was number 3, and then that is going to be divided amongst our envelopes under cash added, and then we'll be able to essay our new balance over here. After this, we then will go into how we break down the denominations. So I'll get started by writing out the categories. Okay, so now that we have our categories filled out, we're gonna give ourselves number 3, which for this pay period is going to be $1,382. So what we'll do is divide up this number into our cash added. What I like to do is start out with the categories that I do a specific amount into every single paycheck. So for instance, HOA dues, subscriptions, the trash bill, which is quarterly, things like that. Even our holidays, I like to make sure to put the same amount because I have an exact goal in mind. Other things like groceries, toiletries, even household are a little bit more variable, so I like to do those second. Okay, next we're going to go through our envelopes and put a starting total for each of the categories that we're planning on stuffing. Okay, now that we have our starting numbers, we're gonna go through and do our cash added amounts. So I like to do this by taking the calculator, putting in what we're working with, which is 1,382, and we're gonna start with the amounts that are more fixed. So things that I need to take care of this pay period or things that I have divided out to reach a certain goal amount across all the pay periods. So the first thing that comes to mind is the HOA dues. This is due at the end of the month, so we're gonna wanna finish out this total. So to do that, we're gonna add another 205. After that, we have subscriptions. I have this planned out so that it covers all the annual subscriptions per pay period. We used to do $50 a paycheck, but now we've already paid Amazon Prime in December. So now I can take that amount and divide it over the next full 12 months. That brings us to our new amount for pay periods to be $32. The next thing is gonna be termites. That is 15 per pay period. Pest control is 17. And trash is 15. I'll also like to do 5 in all of our holiday binder envelopes. So that's gonna be 25. Okay, so now we're actually just gonna work our way up, so we'll end with our spending money. So medical is gonna get 25. Home decor is gonna get 5. Organization, 5. Park Ridge, this is our hunting camp. My husband actually just killed a deer not that long ago, and we harvest the meat and stock it in our freezer to use throughout the year. So to have the deer process is gonna be another 190. Miscellaneous is gonna get 10. Kindness is gonna get 10. Causeway is getting 20. Pretty hair is getting 40. Household is getting 15. Car registration is getting 5. Toiletries is getting 25. Gas is gonna get 300. Groceries is gonna get an additional 200. And then we have spending. So for an entire month, or rather 2 pay periods in a row, we do $200 of spending money. What that does is it gives my husband and I a little bit of freedom for things that aren't particularly categorized into the budget. And it also is nice to just know that I can do a little bit of Target shopping, or, we can go pick up an energy drink at the gas station, or just drive through whenever we want to pick up something and we're not going to be home for meal times. So for this paycheck, since there's fewer bills coming out of it, this is where we would do $125. I've already done a little bit of an unstuffing, so what that's gonna do is just pull away from one of the numbers. So I'm still gonna do the 125, and then my husband's is gonna be 98. So that gives us all of our totals. And then also minus his 98, and that gives us a 0 base budget. So now what I'm gonna do is quickly go through and put in our new balances. So next what we're gonna do is move on to denominations. So first things first is we're gonna fill in our categories. Okay, and now we're gonna transfer over the amount that we'll be stuffing. All right, so now we can move this out of the way. And now I'm gonna go through and just determine my denominations. For things like groceries, gas, and our spending money, and even toiletries and household, I like to do a little bit of a smaller breakdown of denominations. Some other things like subscriptions, termites, and trash, it would be exactly what you would think is the smallest amount of bills that we're putting in. Okay, and then after you've determined your denomination breakdown, you're gonna give yourself some totals. And then now you will be able to fill out your teller slip. All right, and there's our total of $1,382. I'll take this teller slip to the bank, and then now in our next video, we'll have our cash stuffing. Thank you for joining me on my first budget with me. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm sure I made a few tiny mistakes, but I tried to plan it out well for you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.